You know, I never thought I'd see the day where Nick Saban would stop wandering the Alabama sidelines. But yet, here we are. It is officially a new era for Alabama football. A new era in Tuscaloosa. The greatest coach of all time, and Nick Saban retired. And now in comes Kalen DeBoer to take over the Alabama Crimson Tide, who come in at number 5 in our way too early top 25. Despite all the changes, and despite losing the greatest coach in history, we still have Alabama as a top 5 team. The question now is can Kalen DeBoer keep them there? So welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, guys. I'm so glad you could join us today to break down Alabama's schedule for this upcoming season. What will it look like without Nick Saban in 2024? As always, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below. We have our official mailing address where you can send us some of your team's gear to represent the GE Nation from coast to coast. We've got so many teams up here expanding because all this stuff has been sent in by you, members of the GE Nation. So send us some of your team's gear to the mailing address below. Check out our website, thegridironexpert.com, for exclusive content there that help you get through this offseason. So much stuff over there, guys, because the season never dies or ends here at our channel. And we truly do want you to become a member of our GE Nation. So Alabama, guys, last year, 12-2, they win the SEC, they slip into the college football playoff, they fall to Michigan in the Rose Bowl, an absolutely classic game in the playoff. Shortly after that, Nick Saban announces his retirement. Within 49 hours, Alabama reaches out to Washington, the national runner-up. They steal Kalen DeBoer from them, and here he is. He's the new coach in Tuscaloosa. Big shoes to fill. And then we see a mass exodus out of Tuscaloosa. Players transferring left and right. They lose their top offensive player in Caden Proctor. They lose the best defensive player in Caleb Downs. Jalen Milroe, though, did stick around. So they've got a veteran at quarterback, and that's huge for Alabama entering this year. But there's a lot of questions surrounding this program. A lot of questions. And they have a brutal schedule in their first year in the post-Saban era. So brutal, in fact, that some are saying Alabama might only win, 8 or 9 games. Maybe you don't want to go that far yet. But missing out on the 12-team playoff is not entirely far-fetched, because you take a look at what they're up against, guys. This is very, very tough, and especially the road slate. At Wisconsin, at Tennessee, at LSU, at Oklahoma, and then, they draw Georgia early or late in September. Luckily, they're in Tuscaloosa, but still, that is a very, very, very difficult schedule. Obviously you would expect them to maybe start 2-0, beat Western Kentucky, USF. We're not here to predict wins and losses today. That will come here in just a few months. We predict every single team's record heading into this season. So do not miss out on that. All the more reason to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Many would think they start 2-0. Many would think they'd probably beat Wisconsin, although I would be cautious of that. Look, Camp Randall Stadium is a very difficult place to play. Madison is no joke. They're in year 2 under Luke Fickell, not year 1. So they're kind of getting more adjusted to the schemes and the style that he's trying to implement with this program. No longer just the ground and pound type of scheme. They're going to go a little bit more up-tempo, going to throw the ball a little bit more. And Wisconsin, while they were a disappointment in 2023, should be a little bit better, and they'd love nothing more than to spoil Kalen DeBoer's, opening year at Alabama. Coming out of the bye week, they got to take on Georgia, who they beat 27-24 in the SEC championship game to help them get into the college football playoff last year. And I'm not saying this is going to happen, but it is not far-fetched. It's not likely, but it's not far-fetched to think Alabama could start 2-2. Beat Western Kentucky, beat USF, struggle in a true road game with a lot of unknown pieces on both sides of the ball, a new coach and a new staff, and you go to Wisconsin and you lose. Okay, bye week in Tuscaloosa, you take on Georgia, who's loaded with talent, hoping to get revenge over Alabama because that loss kept them out of the playoff, and that loss probably prevented them from having a three-peat. You could see them starting 2-2. You could very well start them starting 3-1. And here's the thing. Unlike last year, Alabama, they lose to Texas in week 2, and they kind of righted the ship. They figured things out, went down the stretch, and kind of went on a tear the rest of the year. The problem is, it's going to be very hard to go on a tear the rest of the year, because after Georgia, sure, it's Vanderbilt, okay, South Carolina at home, whatever, it gets so tough. Their key stretch comes from October 19th through November 23rd, where 3 of those major road games come. They play Tennessee, Missouri, LSU, Mercer, and Oklahoma. Mercer doesn't really count, but in those 5 games, 4 of the 5 teams, the only exception is Mercer, 4 of the 5 teams had at least 9 wins last year. Tennessee had 9 wins. Missouri won 11 and won the Cotton Bowl. LSU won 10. Oklahoma won 10. All those teams really, really good. And you're going to Neyland Stadium, one of the most difficult places to play in the conference. You're going to Death Valley, one of the most difficult places to play in the conference. And you're going to Norman, in Oklahoma's first year in the SEC. And they are going to be pumped and hyped. Whether Alabama's undefeated or whether Alabama's winless, they're going to be pumped to have the Crimson Tide coming to their house and really kicking off this tenure in the SEC with a bang. So this is a very, very, very brutal schedule. Yes, they beat Tennessee by 14 last year. They beat LSU by 14 last year. I understand that. But this is a tough, tough stretch, guys. So even if Alabama navigates those first couple games of the year, maybe undefeated or a one loss, and they lose to Georgia, but that's it. Can they really survive that gauntlet of Tennessee, LSU, Oklahoma on the road? And don't sleep on Missouri either. Can they survive that gauntlet? Can they survive Auburn, who took Alabama down to the wire last year? Alabama needing a miracle of a play to win that game and ultimately keep their playoff hopes alive. Auburn now in year 2 under Hugh Freeze going to have a lot more continuity and consistency among that team than Alabama's going to have. So that back half of the schedule is going to be really, really, really tough for the Crimson Tide. I am not here to tell you that Alabama's going to fall off. I'm not here to say, hey, all those road games are going to be losses. They're going to only win 7 or 8 games. Some people want to believe that. Some people may want that to happen because they've been so tired of Alabama's dominance. I'm not here to tell you that. I'm also not here to say it's not going to happen either. We're going to predict that in a couple months, like we said. But what I am saying is to expect Alabama to still continue to be this well-oiled machine, to be this type of team that we've seen for years under Nick Saban. It's not going to happen because Nick Saban's no longer there. And there's a lot of questions surrounding this team on both sides of the ball. They lost a lot of talent. They had a lot of talent waiting in the wings, no doubt about it. But they lost a lot of talent. And Jalen Milroe can only do so much. Kalen DeBoer's style of offense can only do so much. Can they get through this schedule unscathed? Can they get through the schedule with just 2 losses? Because here's the thing, with the 12-team playoff, I think Alabama gets in at 10-2. And their 2 losses are to Georgia and LSU on the road. And both those games are pretty close. Alabama's getting in to that 12-team playoff. They absolutely are. So, really, if you're Alabama, I wouldn't say lower your expectations. But going undefeated with this schedule and all the changes, it ain't happening. Having 1 loss with this schedule, probably not going to happen. But if you can manage just 1 or 2 losses, that's it. You're probably getting in. 3, you're probably out. Alabama still has championship expectations, and rightfully so. Kalen DeBoer is a championship caliber coach. He wins everywhere he goes, and I expect him to continue to do so at Alabama. But the question is, will he do it immediately in year 1? Again, we'll predict that coming up soon, but that key stretch of October 19th through November 23rd is going to be absolutely massive for Alabama, assuming they are a 1-loss team or an undefeated team entering the 3rd Saturday in October when they take on Tennessee. But if by some crazy act they are a 2-2 team, their season is over after the loss to Georgia, if they were to lose to Georgia. If they are 2-2 entering October, their season is over. If they are a 1-loss team entering the month of October, they have 1 room for error. That's it. They can afford 1 loss in that key stretch, and that's going to be a lot easier said than done. So a big, big year coming up for Alabama, an intriguing year for Alabama. The first time in a long time that we've had so much uncertainty in Tuscaloosa. It's going to be a fun year. We're going to break them down in more detail here in a few months, but leave your thoughts and comments down below. The Crimson Tide have an absolute gauntlet of a schedule. Can they handle it? Time will certainly tell. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. Check out everything down in the description below, or have our mailing address where you can send us gear to represent your team among our GE Nation. We have our official website with exclusive content there, so you don't miss out on anything we have coming to the channel and anything we have coming your way this season. Go check it out. The links for everything, again, down in the description below. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.
Yeah.